Welcome back to a new episode of the Amista podcast, First Sip, Then Sup. I'm Willem-Jan, Delivery Manager at Amista, and your host for today. They say the truth is always between the lines. In business, so is the money, and today we're going to try and find it because we're diving into a topic that really affects everybody. Documents, invoices, contracts, delivery notes, you name it. Most businesses are still handling a huge chunk of that manually. And today we're going to talk about why that's a problem and what you can do about it. I've got two great colleagues here with me, Wim and Jan. Welcome both.
Yes, thank you.
Hi.
Wim, a short introduction.
Yes, I'm Wim Tindemans. I'm working for SmartTalk as product owner. I work almost 6 years at Amista. And before that, I worked for more than 20 years in the industrial automation business with a strong focus on the French market. Today, I'm responsible for the strategy, the tactics, and the implementation of SmartTalk. So I'm currently mainly involved with that. And my goal is to bring SmartTalk to a higher level so it stays relevant into the market.
Thank you, Wim. Over to our second guest, Jan. Last year, you were already a podcast expert on the panel for e-invoicing with Peppol. Same question for you, for the people that don't know you yet. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Yes, thank you, Willem-Jan. Thanks for inviting me the second time. So it means that the first time was a good podcast, I assume.
Indeed.
So I am a pre-sales solution architect at Amista, and I've been working in intelligent document processing for almost 25 years now. In recent years, I'm focusing on the e-invoicing legislation in Belgium and Europe, but also in artificial intelligence. And today, the current focus is on how can we embed or how can we apply artificial intelligence in document intelligence in a reusable and a sustainable way.
Let's kick off with a quick framing question. When Amista talks about document intelligence, what does it actually mean? Because it sounds impressive, but how do you interpret document intelligence?
Good question, Willem-Jan. For me personally, document intelligence is about helping businesses dealing with documents in a smarter way than today. It's not just about scanning a document, digitizing a document, and then storing it to a location somewhere. No, it's about reading the content of the document, understanding the information in the document, and structuring it in such a way that it can be reused, that data, in a smarter way.
Yes, Jan, from my own experience, I do see that document archiving is often seen as an administrative task that people has to do. But in reality, you must see the documents as part of the business process. And once you see that, then it becomes relevant in your day-to-day business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's correct. But because everybody has contracts, has orders, delivery notes, reports, and all those documents, they contain information that people need to run the business, to make decisions. They need to trigger a specific action, or they need to prove that something has happened, was delivered. So document intelligence, it's not just about the document itself, it's about what that document exactly means to your business and to your business processes, and everything behind it. And that is what is the real value. So it is about people spending less time chasing data, collecting information from documents, copying data from documents and putting it in another system. And it's more about making time for making the right decisions. It's about follow-up with the customers, solving exceptions that occur, and moving the entire business forward.
Yeah, that's, for me as a project manager, very recognizable. I work with planning documents, meeting notes, contracts, change requests. The knowledge I need is spread in different documents across different sources. We use SharePoint, email, everything. So sometimes I wonder, is this ever going to stop?
No, probably not. We may print less and less, and we see the amount of paper which is used in our offices is decreasing. That's true. But the amount of information that we need to process day to day is just increasing. And there are some studies that says that more than 20% of documents increase every year. And even there is a study from Adobe which says that there are about more than 3 trillion documents, PDF documents, in the world. So who will say that documents will disappear?
3 trillion PDFs? That's how many zeros?
In my eyes, it's a 3 with about 12 zeros, and that's only the PDF documents. So, do you know how many documents there are already around the globe?
I presume a lot. I'm not responsible for all those documents, but I'm definitely also doing my part. Every week, I add more documents to the pile. I need to send documents over to customers and so on. So this is not just a topic for document specialists, so to say, Jan.
No, correct. Because this is a topic. This is a generic topic. Every organization is managing documents, but within the organization, every business role is getting in touch with documents. Everybody is receiving documents. They need to read information. They create documents. They process those documents.
And even more, we know that you rely on those documents. You need those documents in your day-to-day tasks you have to do. You rely on the documents. You need to support you in your daily tasks. And that's even more important. So if you have a system that is supporting you in that will help you in your daily tasks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's also why this topic today, this is not a document specialist podcast. It's just a business-related podcast in general.
Yeah, because I see two sides in my own work. Some documents are needed right now to keep the process going. Other documents suddenly become important after a few weeks, a few months, because someone asks, what did we agree again? And then I need to start my lookup quest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's correct. That's an important decision. And also in document intelligence, you have those two different sides. So you have at one side, you have the process-driven side. So that means that a document can start a new process, or it can enrich a business process, or maybe complete that business process. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, you have the knowledge-driven part of document intelligence. That means that the documents that you process, they contain information, and that information or the context is needed afterwards to make decisions or to prove something, and you will need to look at it, you need to search and find it and use it afterwards.
Yeah, document intelligence is really about to support those both features. In fact, you need to have those documents all the time, everywhere, not just in one place, not just in your office, just at home. When you're on the road, not only from 9 to 5, we are not working only from 9 to 5. We need those documents all the time in one hand.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and that's correct. And for the both sides, the process-driven side and the knowledge side, you have within document intelligence, you have also the solutions for each side. On the process side, you have intelligent document processing, or short IDP. And IDP, or intelligent document processing, helps to classify documents, document types, extract the right information, validate the information, and then sending it to the right business processes. And you also have on the knowledge side, but Wim, you know more about the knowledge side of document intelligence.
Yeah, the knowledge side is just more than the context itself. It helps you searching the documents afterwards. There's a lot of side information, additional information, which should be stored together with the documents, and that will help you to find those documents. And you will not find it in classical hierarchical ways that you have in a directory structure. No, you would like to search your documents in an easy, free way so that you can fetch for the relevant information rather than just searching for one document in a bundle.
Yeah, and the solutions that provide that functionality for the knowledge side, that is called document management system, or a DMS. So you have IDP on the processing side, and on the knowledge side you have DMS, document management systems.
Yeah. So we've talked about making documents actionable and reusable later. That sounds like exactly the thing where AI could have an impact. So what is AI changing here at the moment?
Yeah, AI definitely has an impact. So if we are looking at the processing side, so in intelligent document processing, AI will help OCR. So today you have OCR, today already 30 years and even longer, you have OCR, optical character recognition, which is a technology to translate a scanned document or an image into machine text. And OCR is still used today. So it's still the foundation, but it does not interpret the text. It has no idea what text means, what context is about. And that is where AI, artificial intelligence, add real value, because AI adds the understanding part of document intelligence. So it helps to classify different documents. It helps to interpret the context and extract information, even for unstructured documents. And unstructured documents, that are documents that have different layouts, or the wordings they change, and AI has an added value. So AI can look at that context and can interpret it, whether, for example, a date on a contract is a start date or an end date of a contract. AI can understand that, and OCR will just extract two dates without additional information.
So AI is not only reading faster, it also is helping understanding the document better.
Yes. So it can understand the document, but it also helps businesses to support the validation of the extracted information. For example, you can have two different dates in a document. AI can find if those two dates are matching or out of scope. Or maybe different documents. Is the content within different documents, is it aligned? Does it contain the same information? And on that part, AI can reduce bottlenecks. Today, those bottlenecks are solved by humans. But instead of humans checking each document from start to finish, AI can do that process. And your entire process can become more straightforward, and only a human in the loop is needed when there is something uncertain.
Makes sense. So AI can take away, let's say, the repetitive work, but the organization still decides where control is needed. Wim, if you look at the DMS part, how can AI help there?
Well, I see AI can support the most regular things, and you have to see it as a 20-80 rule. AI can definitely do the repetitive tasks. The over-automation is an important thing. You cannot manage all exceptions with AI. You cannot manage and configure all the exceptions with programmable logic. So when humans are in the loop, they can just react on the 20% and let AI do the boring 80% in this way.
So AI is not only reading faster, it's also helping to understand the documents better.
Yes, and it does not only understand the documents better, it can also be used for the validation. So are there conflicting data in documents? For example, are the contract dates aligned in document, or even across documents? Do multiple documents have the same context, the same information? And also in that topic, AI can reduce a lot of manual work. Instead of people manually reading documents from start to finish, the AI solutions can help speed up that process and only ask human in the loop or human validation if there is any kind of uncertainty.
Jan, this is really an important point. The goal should not be for going 100% automation. That's almost not impossible, and would be rather very expensive and complex too. The real goal is like a 20-80% rule. You automate the annoying repetitive tasks, and the exceptions can be managed and must be managed by humans. And that's the real advantage of it.
Yeah, that's correct. Because over automation is also a risk. So in document processing, there are still some cases where you need human validation or human judgment. So especially when there is low confidence, if the AI solution is not certain about specific results, we call that low confidence. For example, information is missing, or there are conflicting values, conflicting results, or even when just business impact is very high, you just want to include a human to validate the outcome. And that is also part of designing a reliable process.
Yeah, definitely. We have some examples where the AI tools are just a black box. And we have seen that in the past, this does not bring any trust to the people. There's always a kind of change and a kind of trust required within the system. So if we have the human in the loops for managing the exceptions, the new systems will be adopted very easily.
Makes sense. So AI can take away the repetitive work, but the organization still decide where control is needed. Wim, if we look at the DMS side, how can AI help there?
Well, I see two really important benefits. First of all, AI can unlock a lot of knowledge which is already stored in the documents themselves. And rather than just searching for some metadata or searching from a part of the context, we can ask other questions. We can ask questions in a style of, what did we agree the last meeting? Where did we find those documents? Where is the decision made? Those are questions that you can ask to the AI engine, which are not normally in a standard system. And the second benefit is also the metadata. Metadata on a document is sometimes part of the document itself, but it can also be information which is coming from other systems. So in that way, you're going to enrich your documents with additional data that you can use for searching your documents correctly.
Yeah, and that's correct, because today one of the challenges in DMS solutions and document management is that people, they don't want to add metadata. It's already a struggle to archive a document, to store it in a central place. It's an extra burden to add the name, a title, a date, a topic. It takes a lot of time and effort. Nobody does it. So there, IDP, Intelligent Document Processing, can help and can play a role in document management solutions. So IDP can analyze the document, recognize the document type, just extract key information, make a summary of the topics in the document, and feed the document management with better and complete metadata.
Yeah, and it also helps you in detecting duplicate information, outdated versions of documents, missing or sensitive information, which is required to add. So even on that point, we do some automation and we add that information to the archive.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, maybe let me challenge that a bit, because in my day-to-day business, I usually work straight from my mailbox. What I do, I share my documents and my knowledge internally, externally, mostly still through email. Why would that suddenly change?
It will, in my eyes, it will not change, I think. And that's exactly the point. McKinsey, they have found that workers, business workers, administrative workers, they spend about almost 20% of their time, of their working time, in searching documents, and that's a real issue. And our goal is to reduce the searching activities by really restructuring the information.
Yeah, and I don't think, it's a pity that you use Outlook that much, but everybody is guilty. Yeah? But it's not a dream looking for information, searching for information in Outlook. It can be very slow. You often don't find the exact result, and still in the end you are still missing that one attachment or that one document that contains specific decision or promise to your customer.
Yeah, and you don't have to blame Outlook for that. That's
no, certainly not.
No, the email will still stay a relevant part of your daily work, and the point is that you have to organize yourself in such a way that all the information is centrally archived and that you stop thinking about where did I store my information. That's a crucial part here.
Yeah, because truth be told, it's not only about losing time. If documents are hard to find, that also becomes a risk, for instance, during audits or other controls. At the moment, you need to provide the right evidence quickly and accurately. This is also, I think, a use case where we can benefit from using the document intelligence.
Yeah, definitely. And in a lot of situations, information is spread around the organization. You will not find your information in time. You miss documents. It's not professional. If you have an audit, and then you miss some documents, then you really lose your business, or you get fines probably.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. And I have one example of a project that we did for one of our customers. It's a major customer in the shipping industry. And in case of an incident involving containers with dangerous goods, they had to provide all the required documents within 6 hours. And if they couldn't provide it within those 6 hours, they risk huge fines. So, and the challenge was not that the documents did not exist. The challenge was that the documents were everywhere. They were spread across the world, across different time zones around the world. So they were not able to collect those documents in time. And through our intelligent document project, we were able to collect all those documents centrally and extract the metadata and store them centrally. So that means that they reduced the search and the response time from more than 6 hours to just a few minutes.
That's a nice business case. Not just saving time, but also avoiding risk when the pressure is on. How difficult is it to manage documents in the first place?
Well, what you often see is that documents comes in really a huge or endless variations. And they are spread everywhere. They are created from different programs, ERP systems, CRM systems. They are spread over teams, hardware folders, mailboxes, shared drives, whatever you name it. The information really exists, but it's not always easy to find it. And you even do not know if you can trust that information or if it is the latest version of your document. So if you can store that in a central archive, then you can make benefit of it.
Yeah, but even if you find the correct document, then the struggle is not over. You need to open the document, you need to spend effort to reading the document, understand the content of the document, and pull out all relevant information. Every single time that you open a document. And also that is done today, in most cases manually. So it takes time, and it also creates room for mistakes, because if you don't spend enough time, you maybe are missing details.
So in other words, we're bound to documents even though the frustration can get real. Jan, you just gave a short business case on the shipping industry where IDP helped to reduce the pressure. Wim, from your experience, do you have an example where document frustration was solved?
Yeah, of course. We had a customer who was working in hazardous chemical environments in the ports of Antwerp, Amsterdam, Vlissingen, Rotterdam. They do manual inspections on those terminals, and they have to indicate on the document itself whether the validation is correct, the products are good, ships can be unloaded or loaded, whatever, you name it. But afterwards, in the past, all those documents needs to be transferred to the central office, where that is needed together with inspection for the laboratory. So transferring all those documents, takes time. Taxis are involved in this, and today, what they do is they just scan the documents after the inspections. So that means that the information is directly available. There are no taxi drivers anymore involved. So you can imagine that this is a huge benefit, not only from a cost perspective, but also in time. The information is rather and faster available for the whole organization, not only locally.
Yeah. I have a same case. It's very recognizable. So I once worked on a project where the customer had 3 sites, 3 different locations, and every day there was one taxi who was responsible in transporting just documents from one site to another site. So between the different locations. So if I tell that story today to my kids that there was a taxi driver just transporting documents, they just smile at me. It really sounds funny. But at that time, it was the only solution. They need to share the documents from one location to another location.
And this is not so long ago.
No.
No, it was even after the fax machine was invented.
Oh, wow. So a recent use case, in fact. So this shows how much hidden costs can sit inside document processes. When organizations start looking at document intelligence, what are the typical challenges they struggle with?
Yeah, first of all, one of the challenges is that most organizations, they do not have any overview of all the different documents they handle. They have no clue, contracts, orders, delivery documents, inspection reports, certificates, forms, HR documents, confidential documents. So it's a bundle of and a huge variation of all the different documents. And we have to classify all this information. If you look to the business process, automatically you will see all those different information coming by, and then you can start thinking differently.
Yeah, and I also think that one of the challenges that companies face is that they often look at a document as individual file, a standalone file, but not always at the business process behind it. It's just part of a larger business process. So a document is, in rare cases, only just a document. It triggers an action. People need to prove a decision. It needs to support compliance. It might close a process. So you should look at the entire process that belongs to that document.
Yeah, and then we are faced with the next challenge in that way. That is the ownership of the document. People need to take ownership of documents. Documents are spread over an organization, but they are also moved across teams. And sometimes it's just not clear who is responsible for the quality, the metadata, and archiving of the document itself. And that is also something that needs to be discussed during the projects.
Yes. I also would like to add master data to the challenge. So the documents, they contain information like customer names, supplier number, purchase order number, material codes, whatever. To process those documents correctly, you need to match that information within the existing backend systems. Because a lot of documents, they are received by the business, but they contain all the names, all the article codes then are known within the internal business. So that means that you need to match the external code and the external name with the existing internal names. And that's a huge part. And that means that businesses need to clean up their data before they can start solving the matching puzzle.
Yeah, often the master data is rather incomplete or outdated or inconsistent even. And yeah, in a lot of cases, the master data is in the heads of the people, but not in the systems and so on. So that's also a huge struggle that we are faced with. And in a lot of cases, yeah, we need to discuss the master data and maybe try to make it relevant. But on the other hand, yeah, master data can also help to add additional context to our documents, enrich the documents, and that is later on very useful when we have to search the documents or even create statistics or KPIs outside of the documents themselves.
Yes. One, maybe the final challenge is also managing expectations. So people often think that software and today AI will solve everything. But document intelligence is really about three aspects. You have the people, the process, and the product. And the product, in this case, document intelligence software, it's just one part of that triangle. So you also have to understand the process behind the document, but you also need the people to work in a specific, consistent way. And often that might be a real challenge, is giving all three aspects enough attention, because even the best software will struggle if the process is unclear or if the people are not using it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I completely agree. If buying software could fix bad habits or unclear processes, our job would be a lot easier, definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
So for me, I take the people, the process, and the product. So we have 3 Ps that need similar attention. Since it is a topic that we're talking about, I presume we can speak with experience that some projects don't go as smoothly as planned. Are there some mistakes we have learned from?
Yeah, definitely. We had once a project where the process and the technology was working fine, no issue, but the change management in the organization was lacking, and users were afraid of using the system because a lack of knowledge, a lack of confidence, and we organized additional trainings for that, and little by little they start using the system, and even now we had some ambassadors of the systems, and so we could spread the new system all over the whole organization.
Yeah. So a clear lesson: never underestimate training and user adoption.
Yeah, that's right. I also recognize that very much. So in one of my early projects in the beginning, 25 years ago, I was giving a training during the rollout at the customer site. And at one point, one of the participants of that training just asked out loud, "Who ordered this software?" So it's crazy. And also, just a few years ago, I was for a sales meeting at a potential customer, and one participant at that meeting of the customer side was clearly resistant to change. And during the meeting, she literally said, "Now I understand why people get a burnout."
Yeah, those are really strong reactions, but they are valuable signals. And the point is that if organizations ignore those signals, the resistance becomes even more stronger.
Yeah, that's correct. And also resistance is a signal. It means that you need to address the topic proactively. You need to explain to the end users why you are changing, why you need that solution, and you need to provide training. You need to share the knowledge to everyone and make the value also concrete for their daily work, for the individual, and also for the mutual benefit of the company.
Jan, this is just called change management.
Thank you, Wim.
Yeah.
This is often forgotten in organizations, but it's really crucial. By managing the change, you make the difference between a failure or a success of your project. And that's also really important to have an accepted and embraced solution in your company.
Mm-hmm. So change management, it's called? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know.
Good to know, yeah. So if it's such an important factor, I guess the choice of the project itself also matters. How do you identify a good document intelligence process?
Well, we always start by mapping the document flows, and rather than starting just the documents. And by the process of mapping all those documents, we little by little we see all the different documents coming, where they come from, who is responsible, who touches it, and who validates them. And that's the way that we work with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also look for the repetitive, the high volume processes. So if people on a daily basis are handling the same type of documents day in, day out, by manually checking, copying, or forwarding information, usually that's a good candidate to replace it or to help it with document intelligence.
Jan, I believe you, but there is probably just one other nuance that we have to add. Volume is not always the key driver. Sometimes the best use cases is the critical document flows. in your organization, and there is sometimes also a lot of value that we can gain. If losing a document, missing a deadline, or using the wrong information, can cost even more money or time or risk, whatever. That can also be a good candidate to start with.
Yeah, I agree, Wim. So that means you look at the volume, but also look at the risk, or the urgency of even, let's say, the business impact. Okay?
Yeah, we already touched it, the ownership. A document intelligence project is not purely an IT project. The business needs to support the project and needs to define the different processes, the rules, whatever. It should support the business in all kinds of projects.
Yeah. Yes, that is correct. My advice is just start with one clear use case. Don't do it all at once. Start small. Not 10 document types or 10 or the entire organization at once. Choose one specific process. Choose one specific department where the value, where today the pain is great, and the value is visible. So, and you within that one document process or that one department, you can also manage the scope and the expectations.
Yeah, that's even the best way to build trust, Jan. Start small, prove the value, learn from the first implementation, take those takeaways with you, and then expand it throughout the whole organization. And definitely you will find some ambassadors in the organization who will spread the positive value of your solution.
Yeah.
I would like to raise another additional item which is not yet put on the table, and which is document protection. There is even also an aspect of securing documents in organization, and in general, you can say that documents are certain secure, and we have to add some classification. For instance, normally contracts can be seen by the whole of the organization, but in some parts, just only the management may see those contracts, or confidential information from HR department, medical reasons, whatever. It can happen that even the same typical documents needs to be differently secured.
Yeah, that's correct. Today, confidential information, personal information, it's all part of the GDPR legislation. And that's not only related to just HR or management documents. Many organizations, or all organizations, need to prove that they protect their documents, that there is a DPO, document processing or protection officer installed. There is a clearly protection strategy within the organization that has been documented, that it can be proven. Also, some kind of information cannot be stored for decades of time. So most cases, invoices, they should be stored for 7 or up to 10 years. But if it's about construction, 10, maybe 20 years and longer. So even I know that in Poland, the information about personnel, employees, must be stored for 50 years. 50 years, that's really long. So it's important for companies to have a strategy relating the storage of that information.
Storage and security. Yes. Yeah. Okay. We're almost ready to wrap up. So maybe to close this episode, let's look ahead. How do you think document intelligence will evolve in the coming years? If we look short term, so if we look 3 years from now, what will have changed? In my opinion, I think AI, artificial intelligence, will move very fast in document intelligence domain. We will see systems that understands documents better, that can deal with more variation, with longer documents, more context, more data, and support also users in a more natural way than today. But I also think, and also hope, that organizations will become more aware about their document flows, about their document data, and the knowledge that is inside all those documents. So
today, I think many companies underestimate how many documents they handle, where all those documents are stored, and which business processes needs all that information. And I expect that in 3 years from now, that will be much more visible within a lot of companies.
Yeah, and there is also another aspect, is the people aspect. Yeah, a new generation is entering our organizations in the professional market, and they also expect to make use of modern tools. They do not accept anymore that you have to spend hours and hours in searching for documents, copying data manually. That's not the way they would like to work with. And at the same time, yeah, companies can not just replace everything in one time. Their business critical systems, ERP, DMS, CRM, and other core systems, they will still remain important, but in the future they will become more relevant, and we have to combine all those systems with an AI controlled way.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's correct. So AI will help automate, link data from different systems, combine those data. But remember, business critical decisions still need human validation. So I think it's important to have, for those high impact decisions, to have a human in the loop, especially for high critical decisions.
I think in this case, the future is to have not fully autonomous processing systems, but I think the future will be smarter collaboration between people, and AI will help us in that.
So less document chaos, more intelligent support, but still with the right controls.
Exactly. I think that is a good summary, Willem-Jan.
All right.
Yeah, and maybe in 3 years, we will no longer ask where the document is, but we simply ask questions, and the system will help us to find the answer.
Okay, great to hear. Thank you very much. Looking back at what we just discussed, I think the main key takeaway is that, in fact, how invisible this problem actually is. Nobody sits down on a Monday morning and thinks, today I'm going to waste 1 hour looking for a document. It just happens quietly every single day in the organization. So, and because it happens gradually across even hundreds of people within a company, across thousands of emails and folders, it never quite feels urgent enough to fix. But in fact, it costs a ton of money. Not because of bad strategy, not because of a weak product, but because the back office simply can't keep up. That's, for me, my main takeaway for today. Thank you, Wim and Jan, for your knowledge today. Talk to you soon. Have a great day. Bye.
You're welcome, Willem-Jan, and goodbye.
You're welcome. Goodbye.